Okay. I am a mother of 5 children. When I expected my 4th child, my only daughter, I struggled to make the work-family balance work. It didn't. And our family was stressed. Our house was a meeting point rather than a home in harmony. My husband worked full-time. I was working part-time, taking care of 1 woman, leaving 3 children to daycare, all of them in need of care. The social protection system that was set up to protect me, to empower me, and to liberate me, it made me weak, exhausted, and finally sick. I realized that I didn't lead my life as I wanted to. I wasn't in control. So I told my husband, I will quit my job. I will stay home with my children. And he said, no, you can't do that. People don't do that. We can't afford it. But I did what I had to do. And after a while, he agreed, and he saw the positive effects it had. And today it's like we see the consequences. This made me see how easy it is to live your life like everyone else, without reflection of how it affects you and the members of your family. I never wanted to leave my children to someone else, and I always knew I was their first and best choice. But anyway, I did leave them to institutions because society expected it from me, and because the norms in Sweden are so strong. And then when I took a different direction than the Swedish society wanted me to, I was included in different ways. I was being questioned, and people found my choice very controversial. I took care of my children without the expensive institutional daycare, and I didn't get any economic support at all. So depending on where you live in Sweden, the state pays $1,100 or up to $1,400 per month per child. And you as a parent, you pay at the most $150 per month. And today 84% of all children between the age of 1 to 5 are in preschool. So this is how we raise our children. Do we have to give up ourselves, our longing to care for our own families, our own children, just to suit the system in order to be worth something? Do we have to liberate our mother instincts in order to be valued? My name is Madeleine Wallin, and I'm a mother of 5 children between 16 and 30 years old. So this is, and my husband. I am the General Secretary of FEFAF, European Federation of Parents and Carers at Home, which main issue is the unpaid caregiving work and how to value and recognize that. I'm also a member of the board of the Swedish organization HARO, and I have been working with this for 19 years now. I am also owner of a business that me and my husband created 10 years ago, last Saturday actually. But I see myself most as a motherhood activist. I'm angry. I have been angry for 19 years. So the unpaid work supports the economy, but it should be the other way around. The word economy means home. It has its origins in ancient Greece, and eko is a derivative from oikos, meaning its extended family unit that consists of house and home. So the root word of economy means home, yet the value of a home and a strong family isn't included in the economic systems. How can unpaid care work, or rather the gift of care work, be the very basis of society and all other economies, yet still not recognized or mentioned as the vital part of the national accounts? For me, it's very hard to conceive why care is not seen as the most valuable work one can do. It is always needed, and so many are engaging in this work hours and hours every day in the world. 80% of all care in Europe are provided within families, and 4 out of 5 caregivers are women. And if we want to reach gender equality, I think it should be a priority to improve these living conditions for this exposed group. Or is poverty supposed to be the reward of and consequence of a life spent caring for others? I don't think so. As it is invisible, we actually don't understand the magnitude of it before it's gone. And this is perhaps one of the greatest underlying problems of inequality that looms over women to this present day. And until we can address this issue, it is difficult to move forward. The reason why we need social protection systems, it is because the economic systems rule us. And the only way to be visible is to be part of the workforce, the paid workforce. It seems better to produce things than to reproduce human beings. Our current economic structure is based on a vested interest rather than on profit and money and greed, rather than what we give based on love, need, and caring for others. The GDP isn't the best measurement tool if we look at the true wealth of a nation, because it doesn't measure well-being. It doesn't factor in what is really needed for us as human beings and what is best for us. It doesn't measure emotional and psychological well-being, fulfillment, love, or happiness. The focus is on material wealth and money, and it's driving nations to become more and more materialistic. Is this what women and families really want? Or is there another way? Would it be good for the economy, for our lives, that unpaid work was valued somehow? There was a man, Adam Smith, a Scottish philosopher and the father of the model most used by national economies, the free market economy. He said that it is our self-interest that is the reason why we work and want to do things for others. And his famous example of how we get the food on the table from his book, The Wealth of Nations, it states that it is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. But Adam Smith, he never got married. His father died when his mother was pregnant with him. So he lived his whole life with his mother, whom he was very close to, and she cooked and served him his dinner. But he obviously didn't recognize the value of her work and the time she had to do investing in it. And I guess she didn't do it out of self-interest. Men have been creators of the economic systems, both the capitalist and socialist. And without the experience from pregnancy, birth giving, breastfeeding, and caring for children and family members, with all the additional work it means, how could they be aware of this in the same way as women? And unfortunately today, women in positions of power, they often lack the experience of unpaid caregiving work. And that is why this issue becomes a problem to discuss, and why it is seen as a burden for women rather than empowerment. Many political leaders in Europe actually don't even have children today. So, I was in Lagos, Nigeria in 2017, and what struck me was the natural maternal instincts they were so obvious to see. I saw so many women who were so attached to their children, and the difference from motherhood there and in Sweden, it really frightened me. Because we have changed the female instincts in Sweden, believing that we are doing something good by delegating the responsibility of our own children to others. Early separations and full-time work being the norm for everyone, this might not be what children need, or not what women or men need either. But the economic systems don't care. And children, they adapt. And when they give up fighting, demanding their parents and their needs, they just turn off their emotional systems. They just, you don't notice that they are wounded and broken somehow, because they continue playing. They don't have another option. So, why would we want to remove a perfectly good and natural heart and replacing it with an artificial system? Why are we replacing the family with a caring state? If the maternal instincts are removed from women, what will happen? So Madeleine, she was a former national member of the parliament in New Zealand, a feminist, economist, human rights activist. She wrote a book called If Women Counted, and she searched for reasons why we don't measure the unpaid work. So she went here to the UN, she searched in I'm not sure if it's a library, the UN library, and she found a book in the UN system of national accounts. And there is a paragraph that says, subsistence production and the consumption of their own produced by non-primary producers are of little or no importance. And these paragraphs are internationally agreed standard set of recommendations on how to compile measures of economic activity agreed upon by all the member states. So according to Madeleine, what this really means is that the work of non-primary producers, like housewives, mothers, who are bearing and raising children, doing laundry, making home preserves, keeping a herb garden, in fact, all of the work, most of the work women do on an unpaid capacity anywhere on the planet is of little or no importance to the macroeconomics. Is this really true, you think? I don't think so. So, this is me and my baby, my third baby. And we are here at the Commission on the Status of Women, who is to safeguard the interests of women. But what distinguishes women from men is our ability to give life. So, why are we not talking about motherhood here? Instead, it seems like the traditional male life model is what is desired and strived for. This year's priority theme is social protection systems, access to public services and sustainable infrastructure for gender equality. And this is like, why don't we mention unpaid work? And the empowerment of women and girls. And let's talk about what makes us empowered and how we get there. Did anyone ask women if they felt valued and empowered by doing unpaid work? We need to ask them what they really want. I know what I want, but I did it anyway. So we cannot pretend that becoming a mother doesn't affect us. It is life-changing and makes us unique and empowered. we talk mostly about redistributing and reducing unpaid care work. And this includes the care of our children and other family members. And it is described as a burden. And the ones who perform it, they are called inactive people in the statistics. I don't ever think I have been more active ever in my life than when I had 5 children in my house, taking care of them in different ways every day. And I am called inactive in the statistics. No vacation, no free time. You are working 24 hours a day. It makes me so mad. I'm here today because my motherhood has done something great with me in my life. I take the responsibility for the well-being of my children and myself very serious. I feel empowered by it, and it has also made me more emotional competent. I have invested so much time in building a family, being a present and conscious parent. And now, when my youngest is 16 years old, I am at a different stage. And the family members that I had very close to me for such a long time, they are moving on in different directions, and soon they will be creating new families of their own. And this parenthood is transferred from generation to generations. And we need to be very protective of this silently transferred but highly important knowledge. I would read a statement that I gave at an event about the SDG 5.4 about unpaid work at the Commission for Social Development in February this year here at the UN, invited by IFFG. The word economy means home, but the value of a home and a strong family isn't included in the economic systems. Unpaid work is not part of the national accounts, and in the UN system of national accounts it's written that it is of little or no importance. What we measure affects what we do. If we measure the wrong thing, we will do the wrong thing. If we don't measure something, it becomes neglected, which is exactly the case of the unpaid work, mainly performed by women all over the world. In many countries, we redistribute the unpaid work and force separations between children and mothers, just to make the care count. If another woman cares for my child, it is suddenly valued. The question is, do we get the same outcome? It is time to improve economic systems, so it's a benefit to people rather than to the system itself. Or as Magdalena Sepulveda, a UN Special Rapporteur, says, women's economic empowerment is a mirage if we ignore the unpaid work done at home. Sometimes I feel like I am a mother tree. A time came when I just knew I had to grow, where to be and to just be. I understand that my life is not only important to me. I am also part of a larger context, a caring environment with the deep roots of wisdom that comes through me from my ancestors. A wisdom that was programmed and carried within me. Once I accepted my role and gave in and let my ego stand aside, I could be a secure base for my children and lead them carefully forward. Thank you.